Hello and welcome to part 4 of my series 1 on Introduction to Lead Acid Batteries. In the earlier 3 parts, I have already discussed various aspects of lead acid batteries. So now let's proceed to part 4, which is the last part of my series on Introduction to Lead Acid Batteries. Now in part 4, we shall be discussing the latest trends of other cell chemistries, and we shall also discuss the BMS function, types and limitations. What are the latest trends in lead acid and other batteries? Certain developments have taken place in the last few years with the entry of lithium-ion batteries, mainly for the EV segment. Lithium-ion batteries have been used in various small appliances or applications, so to speak. We have lithium-ion batteries in mobile phones, cameras, hand tools, and various other devices, including toys. Various other similar applications, but they were not the areas where lead acid batteries were being used. However, now lithium-ion batteries have entered a segment where lead-acid batteries were previously widely used, and this alternate cell chemistry has begun to replace some areas of lead-acid batteries. The advanced cell chemistries entering the market have a significantly higher energy density, reportedly long lifespan, and are obviously lower in maintenance requirements compared to lead acid batteries. Some of the options being considered to replace lead acid batteries are lithium ion, sodium ion, zinc air, aluminum air, and zinc bromide. Although not all these technologies are yet fully commercialized, lithium ion is the only one that has been commercially introduced into the market. As I mentioned earlier, the widespread application of lithium-ion batteries was in mobile phones, medical devices, digital cameras, laptops, power tools, GPS devices, and robotics. Now, most of the applications in which lithium-ion batteries are seemingly replacing lead-acid batteries are in two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, automated guided vehicles, solar plants, marine vehicles, and also material handling vehicles. The significant advantages of lithium ion are a quick recharge, better mileage in EVs, and the possibility of opportunity charging. There is no topping up with distilled water required when it comes to lithium ion. Lithium ion batteries are also BMS compatible, where the BMS can indicate the state of charge, overcharge, over discharge, and individual cell voltages. Additionally, the BMS can control specific parameters such as cell balancing and current input, and the BMS can also turn off the charger, etc. These batteries reportedly have a longer lifespan and they are reportedly maintenance free. They have a much higher energy density. Of course, all these advantages come with certain disadvantages as well. And one of the significant disadvantages of a lithium ion battery is its safety. There have been a lot of cases of fire and explosion due to thermal runaway, which is a problem when it comes to lithium-ion batteries. The availability of materials is also a problem because numerous materials are required to manufacture these lithium-ion batteries, and their availability is a significant issue. When it comes to BMS, that is battery management system, it is an absolute necessity. You cannot use these batteries without a BMS, as simply connecting them to a charger and load like you would with a lead acid battery can be catastrophic. Recyclability is currently an issue, and there are not many people who are actively promoting recyclability or recycling lithium ion batteries at present. The resale value, therefore, is a big question mark, because once the batteries are completely exhausted and fully used, we do not know what value they will fetch. Hence, scrap disposal can be a liability. Possibly, in the future, regulatory agencies may even charge for the disposal of this scrap. Currently, cost is a deterrent and affordability is a significant issue. Why do I say that safety is a significant issue? Safety is an issue because when lithium ion batteries overheat, they can explode or catch fire, releasing hazardous gases. The main gas is carbon dioxide, whereas the other gases are hydrogen fluoride and phosphoric fluoride. These gases also comprise combustion products and organic solvents. Hydrogen fluoride, when it is mixed with moisture, forms corrosive and penetrating hydrofluoric acid. This is destructive in nature, and the smoke from these batteries reportedly cause blindness with destruction of the cornea. The electrolyte, which contains lithium salt in an organic solvent, that is lithium hexafluorophosphate, is highly inflammable, and this electrolyte tends to burn materials that are combustible and in close vicinity. So, if corrugated boards, other flammable materials, or wooden packing are lying around, these will unnecessarily add to the fire, which is a significant issue. The toxicity due to the hazardous gases and the burning electrolyte is a matter of grave concern, and they pose a serious health risk. Several studies are underway to address the issues related to lithium ion batteries. In the case of fire incidents, we have observed that the majority of fires occur when charging is in progress. 25% of the cases of fires have been reported when the battery has been put on charge and the car is parked. During regular driving, there are 17% of cases, and in the event of a crash, the incidence of fire is around 20%. Additionally, whenever the battery is exposed to air or water, fires occur at a rate of around 4%. This is according to a research report by ID TechX, which indicates that EV fires are more difficult to control compared to internal combustion engine vehicle fires. In case of a fire of an internal combustion engine vehicle, you need about 1000 liters of water to put out the fire, whereas you need 100 times more water to put out a Tesla Model S fire. You need 100,000 liters of water. As opposed to 300 gallons of water, you need 30,000 gallons of water. That is, you need 10 tanker loads of water to put out an EV fire, as opposed to 1/10 of a tanker load of water to put out an internal combustion engine vehicle fire. Now, when I discuss the availability of lithium as a disadvantage, it is worth noting that lithium mines exist in Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile. There are some small quantities also available in the USA, Australia, and China. The cobalt required for making these batteries of the NMC type, that is nickel, manganese, cobalt, lithium-ion batteries, is found only in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Coming to the battery management systems. Battery management systems and sensors are connected to the battery to the individual cells. They do have a role to play, but it is limited and they become ineffective once the battery has entered a thermal runaway mode due to an electrical short inside the cell, a puncture, or any other reason which causes the battery to go into a thermal runaway state. Thermal runaway mode is also possible if the battery enters overcharge or overdischarge, which typically occurs when the BMS or sensors are faulty and the battery has entered this mode. Once it has entered this mode, the BMS loses control and becomes ineffective. There are some gray areas when it comes to lithium ion. Well, these are the gray areas. As I mentioned, recyclability is an issue. Therefore, it is not that there are many recyclers available. Even if some recyclers are present in various parts of the world, shipping the scrap battery itself is going to be a significant cost. Therefore, unless recyclers are available worldwide and in various locations and in areas near the place of use, recycling does not become viable or economical. Now the question is, if recycling is being done, where is it being done? What is the method and process and what is the cost? Recycling lithium-ion batteries is not as simple as recycling lead-acid batteries. A lithium-ion battery contains a lot of materials such as nickel, manganese, carbon, graphite, cobalt, iron, and many other things. Separating them and recycling them is a significant task. Next, we come to resale value. When an electric vehicle is being sold, the resale value of the scrap battery, which forms about 40 to 60% the cost of the vehicle, is not defined. Therefore, if you're not going to recoup the resale value of the battery and have to replace it, then this lost resale value must be factored into the cost. It is unlikely that you'll receive a rebate for your used battery. On the contrary, there is a possibility that you may need to pay for this scrap collection. When you leave this old battery at the service center, they may tell you that they will have to pay for sending the scrap somewhere, and there is a possibility that they may collect some amount from you. This is a possibility, though these things are not defined as such, nor is the resale value defined, nor is the scrap collection cost defined in the case of EVs. The replacement batteries are costly and quite bulky when it comes to EV batteries. Now, some traders may sell you a battery at a later date at a lower cost, but then if you do not buy from the OE where the battery is likely to be costlier, the OE may not continue the service on other parts of the vehicle. In such a case, what is the warranty? Is the trader going to provide you with a back-to-back guarantee and service the vehicle too? These things are not very clear and are a gray area, so we do not know what will happen. As far as the guarantee is concerned, we understand that the BMS, sensors, and other associated items are not guaranteed throughout the life of a battery. It is often said that a battery is guaranteed for 8 years, but the BMS and sensors are generally guaranteed for a period of about 5 years. So what happens in case the battery conks off at the 6th or 7th year? Will the BMS or sensor be held responsible, and will the battery warranty remain valid? Will the OE confirm and be willing to replace the battery under guarantee? Alternatively, will the onus of the battery replacement be on the user of the vehicle, and will they be informed that the BMS or sensor was faulty? The battery is no longer functional. Now the guarantee is null and void. This is not very clear again. Then, when it comes to battery life, this is something to be experienced, as numerous reports have documented capacity fade. People say that they are using the EV and after about a year, they are getting less mileage. After 2 years, it's still significantly less. And after 3 years, the mileage is much, much less. This phenomena is known as capacity fade and it occurs with lithium-ion batteries. This is another aspect that only an experienced user can discern. However, I have heard from experienced users that there is a substantial capacity fade when using lithium-ion batteries. Again, when it comes to lithium-ion batteries, two significant types are in use. One is NMC and the other is FePO4. NMC is a nickel manganese cobalt type and FePO4 is the ferrous phosphate type. The NMC type is reportedly more prone to fires and explosions in comparison to the ferrous phosphate type. But the ferrous phosphate type usually gives a lesser mileage compared to the NMC type. The significant problems with lithium-ion batteries are that in case of a fire, they can be put out using only special fire extinguishers, which are known as the AVD type, aqueous vermiculite dispersant type. The oxygen supply needs to be cut off to restrict the fire, but that does not mean that the fire will go out completely or that the explosions will stop. A blanket-like cover is required to do such an activity, but reignition is highly possible despite your covering and cutting off the oxygen supply. The hazardous gases emitted during a fire are dangerous to the extent that they can affect a person's lungs or eyes. But this is not well known to many people who deal with fires or are at the scene trying to put out the fire. The thermal runaway in one cell ignites the other cells by heating them. So if one cell gets heated up, it passes the heat to the other cells. This is why all the cells, one by one, become heated and ultimately all the cells reach a state of explosion or fire mode. The dealers and users are not trained to handle such emergencies because often they are not informed that such a thing can happen and they need to be cautious. This is something which manufacturers and traders must not hide from the dealers and users of electric vehicles and lithium-ion battery users. The transporters and shippers are also possibly unaware of this hazard, and that is something that should be addressed immediately. As I mentioned earlier, the only extinguisher specially designed for battery fires is the aqueous vermiculite dispersant. Reportedly, this is the only extinguisher that can put out lithium-ion battery fires. The additional threat associated with lithium-ion is the impact of fluctuating dollar prices. As the local currency to dollar exchange rate changes and when one has to import in dollars, the cost is naturally affected depending on the local currency to dollar exchange rate. The alternative to this is local designing and manufacturing. This is not currently readily achievable. Import duties also vary and at times they are high, which also affects lithium-ion battery prices. Shipment costs are very high too. It has been observed that the exporting nation sometimes imposes additional duties on exports, which in turn increases the prices of battery cells. Now let us proceed to understand what a battery management system is. A battery management system is often referred to as the BMS. In this presentation, I will attempt to explain the types of systems and their roles in battery management. I will also touch upon the features of a good BMS and its limitations. As I explained, the full form of BMS is Battery Management System. It is a device that manages the battery and ensures that the battery operates safely when it is used by the customer. There are a few good BMS features and I shall enumerate those. A good battery management system must incorporate a robust BTMS, which should also include thermal safety features. It should be a battery thermal management system. It must not be based only on voltage feedback. It must indicate the correct state of charge based on the residual capacity. It must also indicate the energy in kilowatt hour delivered in each cycle. In an electric vehicle, a BMS also has to measure the coolant flow. A battery management system must be capable of protecting the battery. It must have predictive capabilities and give necessary alerts. It must have good MOSFETs and ICs. It must be rugged enough to handle the energy and the recovery coming back as regenerative energy. Now let us see the types of BMS. Mainly there are three types of BMS. One is a hardware BMS, the next is a smart BMS, and the third is an IoT enabled BMS. The hardware BMS is pre-configured. It has cell balancing and ensures cell protection. A smart BMS features cell balancing and cell protection. Additionally, it can be pre-configured and also amended at the site of use. The parameters in a smart BMS can be set using Bluetooth or Wi-Fi when the BMS is within the range. In an IoT BMS, it is of course having cell balancing and cell protection features which can also be pre-configured and amended on site. Additionally, it is compatible with GPRS and SIM cards. It has GPS with cloud monitoring and live tracking possibilities. It is possible to immobilize the vehicle battery with software in the case of an IoT type BMS. Now let us understand what the functions of BMS are. A BMS must ensure that the battery is not overcharged and it has a charging current limit. It must have a short circuit protection with a safe cutoff. It must have sensors and a thermal cutoff facility. It must cut off charging to some fully charged cells and continue charging the other cells. It must ensure that the battery is not over discharged. That means the depth of discharge must be controlled. It must have a real-time clock and it must also have range indication case of electric vehicles. It must have an equalization of charge feature which is also known as cell balancing. It must provide alerts of unusual occurrences. It must have time stamping for the data logger. The battery management systems and sensors are always connected to the battery. However, they have a limited role to play and are ineffective once the battery has entered thermal runaway mode due to an electrical short inside the cell or for any other reason that causes the battery to enter thermal runaway mode. This is a major limitation of the battery management system. If you are interested in learning more about batteries, chargers, battery management systems, or any related subjects like EVs, you can always read my articles on Medium and Substack. You can also listen to my podcasts on various streaming platforms, including Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, and YouTube. I also have a WhatsApp community and an email community where I frequently share updates and global news with all my community members. If you are interested in joining the community, please visit my website, access my contact details, and send me an email. My website is www.rameshnatrajan.in. If you are interested in learning more about batteries, you can access any of my books on Amazon. I have authored 3 books in English and 1 book in Hindi, and I shall shortly be releasing my 5th book next month, that is in October 2025. You can access these books on Amazon worldwide as well as on Flipkart. These are my contact details. Thank you very much for tuning in to this video presentation.